your age can be either a very big challenge or a very big advantage.
Take small steps that would lead you to your destination. Not just do not try to just run towards your destination, right?
Social media looks so positive always. People don't know what's going behind the back. Like it might be that I'm posting one of my biggest achievements and I'm sitting in bed just tired. It can always happen.
We are people who mostly speak about helping others to destigmatize that mental health part. But sometimes when it comes to us, we do not have the right ways ourselves to solve it.
It will not work out that fast. That's why everybody is not able to become a creator. That's the very reason, because so many people give up initially itself.
Hey guys, welcome to the sixth episode of the Awaaz Podcast. Today we have someone who, at the age of just 20, has given a TEDx talk, has been recognized as one of the top 100 women leaders in Asia, and as well as is working towards breaking taboos around mental health, menstruation, education, climate change, and I don't know what not. I personally have been very inspired and have got really good insights while hosting her, and I know definitely that you will also. She is none other than the founder of Break the Ice, Palakh Khanna. I know you love the podcast, so let's listen.
So, Palak, I'll be honest. I am not sure if we have connected anytime soon, anywhere, or we have come across each other on any platform per se. But somewhere we connected on Instagram, I guess. Okay, and I've had a very distinct knowledge of what you have done in your, let's take, last 2 years per se, and it's very, let's take, amazing to see that people at our age are trying to do things to, let's take, set an example possibly, or let's take, just take the road which is very less taken by. Okay, and that's where people like you come in. People, I actually have also like a recorded podcast with other few people who have actually taken these roads, and I see something very similar that has taken us to that road, and that is something which is I believe in, which is called as persistence. For me, consistency is like bullshit. Okay, it's real nothing. It's like being persistent is very tough. It's basically uh, consistency plus hunger plus determination. That is persistence, and that is where I believe that people like us fall into that category. But from what I know and what I want to know from you, I would love to know that. How you started off with this journey where you currently are, let's take leading break the ice, I guess, if I'm not wrong, correct? So break the ice is there, and then you recently got accredited as top, let's take, young leaders, top 100 young leader women, right? Lots of other things as well, right? So why don't we start with something where we get to know more about who you are, where you started, what you're doing, and things like that.
Perfect. So, for everyone who's listening, hi, I'm Palak. Uh, I am currently 20, started out when I was 18. Really didn't think that I would ever open an organization, let's just say that, because I'm from a business family and I realized that it's not my cup of tea because you really need to talk to people. And I was a massive introvert. So I thought, okay, this is something I cannot do. And it was in that crossed list of things that it's not my cup of tea. And gradually happened during the pandemic, and that's how the journey started. That I overheard this conversation between my mom and my domestic help. She had her periods at our place, and she was really uncomfortable just talking about it. And that's when I just overheard the conversation, and I realized that there are so many topics that people are afraid to talk to simply because they are taboos, and they're pushed under this tag of taboo, and people are simply ignoring them, even if they're one of the most important conversations. Um, and yeah, that kind of led me to opening my organization Break the Ice, because I thought, why not just create a platform that will only talk about things not supposed to be talked about. And yeah, we try to literally break the ice. So mental health, menstruation, gender equality, climate change, all of these things either not talked about or ignored. So that's how I started out. How I landed up on LinkedIn is a whole different story. Wanted to learn about how founders market themselves, because once I started the journey, I was like, what next? Because again, I'm passionate about the cause, but how do I reach out to people? How do I actually get started with building a community and a team? And that's why I downloaded LinkedIn, and one thing led to another. Just added my opinion on one of the posts and realized, hey, I think people want to hear what I'm saying. So yeah, never stopped after that. So that's the second journey of starting out on LinkedIn, and transition from an introvert to more of a speaker then. And yeah, have been learning from that. And yes, recently got Asia's 100 Women Power Leaders, still absorbing that. That's kind of overwhelming, but we were trying to learn everything on the way.
No, definitely. What I think is, if you are about doing, if you really want it, right, sometimes things just fall into place, even if you're not. Take your turning point where you initially were word and then changing to a whole new like, journey of being a talking about things like that, right? It's basically like something that has given you a total new point of view towards life, okay? And it brings you to places that you have never thought of, right? I'll be very honest. So 3 weeks back, I was just like on a place that okay, I'll do a podcast, I'll do this, I'll do that. I was just thinking around things, and I was like, okay, whoever I know, let's just reach out to them, okay? So I just dropped a message to 20 odd friends of mine, okay? And like currently, all of them are like a little. Let's take they've reached a pedestal in life where let's take a certain amount of people know them. Let's say you are one of them. There is Ananya who's there. There is like Rohit is who's there. Sachi who's there. Lots of people, right? And what I noticed was everyone just said yes, and that was super amazing. And you won't believe, in the last 2 weeks I've recorded almost 6 podcasts already, okay? So coming back to you, so from what I see, you were on the lookout with, let's take push out what you wanted people to, let's take talk more about, okay, to break the ice, to break the taboo around, to destigmatize things, right? And that's when you started your first journey on LinkedIn. I hope you started, let's take around 2 years back, if I'm not wrong. Correct? Uh, what do you say for people, let's take for of your age, if they're really passionate about something? Okay, what would, let's take, be the like small steps for them? Okay, to start with it, to start anything. Let's take.
I think that's a great question. It depends really on the thing you're starting out with, number one. For example, if you're getting started with LinkedIn, that's something you want to explore in the next 3 years of your, college life. A lot of people ask me this every day, and I'm like, there isn't like a structure to it, because I agree. Saying you need to be consistent is like a very, very small part of it, and almost insignificant and almost overused. It's a buzzword. Everybody is saying, hey, get consistent, you'll get, the algorithm will identify you. That happens, but there are so many other factors to it. The algorithm will identify you even if you post like three trendy topics. One of them will go viral. You'll get like 3,000, 4,000 reactions. You'll get a bunch of followers. But it's not about that. If you're trying to leverage a platform, not just LinkedIn, um, any platform, honestly, you really need a strategy with it. So if you're getting started with LinkedIn, if that is something that you're passionate about, then number one, you need to know what you want to talk about. It's not about defining your niche in the first week or so. That's not how we work. You'll have an existential crisis and you'll skip it. Don't do that. I think just have 2 to 3 things you really want to talk about. Experiment with your audience, what people are wanting to hear, and then start with niche downing, if that makes sense. And number two, yes, you'll need to be consistent, but it's not like you need to post every day, because when you post every day, you will have a creator block after 1 month. Again, you'll stop posting, because a lot of us, we need the motivation to continue, and you'll not get the motivation in the initial 2 months, because again, there are billions of people who are creating content, any platform. So people will really have to see something unique in you. If you're someone who's starting out a business, it's a very similar thing. Honestly, if you want to become an entrepreneur, people will not initially notice you. Your idea needs to be unique, but your way of pushing it forward also needs to be unique. Because there are billions of companies and similar companies that are doing the same thing, but it comes down to execution, right? It
Right.
comes down to how you're researching and how you're executing the process. And it also depends on your USP again, unique selling proposition. It will come down to that, but it's not your defining point, similar to the consistency point. It's not something that will define you, but it is important because if Zomato or Swiggy would have thought that way, neither of them would have existed. They're practically very similar, right? But their way of execution somewhere is different. Even 80% of the execution is similar. But it comes down to the very nitty gritties of maybe marketing, maybe team building, maybe audience, maybe the way you're pushing it out, everything. So, again, whatever you're trying to start out, have like a 1 month strategy to it, but don't keep 5 year plans, they will not work out. That's the thing I've learned. Don't have like 3 to 4 big goals. Don't have it as a 5 year old plan that I will do this, and I will achieve this in 5 years. Something out of that will change in those 5 years. I think COVID happened and everybody was like, all of our plans are going down the drain. I was the batch who had online school, 11th and 12th. It was horrible. And I had so many plans for farewell and so many plans for what do I want to do next. Didn't work out right. So have like a idea of what you want to achieve, but don't have it like in a structured planning kind of way. Have smaller short-term plans because those are things you'll actually be able to implement. And if you don't achieve them, you'll learn how to implement them in the next 2 years, maybe. So you'll learn from them. If I have a 2 month goal and I'm not able to achieve it, I know what I did wrong, then I'll achieve it in the next 2 months. So I think, yeah, that's have given a long monologue on the answer, but I hope people like get the answer out of it.
No, definitely. I actually heard about the story where, there's a man and there's a horse. They're walking by a jungle, and the man forgets, can't see his, let's say, steps ahead or the journey ahead. And that's when, like the horse says that take small steps that would lead you to a destination, not just do not try to just run towards your destination, right? So I guess that's something I actually definitely agree upon. We just, let's say, jump back to the conversation where you actually mentioned that it was difficult for you initially when you were an introvert, and the pedestal totally changed. Where let's take you got involved in, let's take, building your organization, building your team, building that community, and then let's take getting partnered with so many let's take current companies and organizations that are out there, right? So how did that change happen? That's one. And how has that change let's say affected you or has brought a good change in you, if you want to talk about that?
So I think I'll take the second part first. Of course, it's changed me in a really good way. Have kind of learned how to navigate collaborations, partnerships. Also, like it has tried to just help me in my personality development as well. So all good things, honestly. In terms of the first part, which is how did I do it? I think honestly, again, it was a very conscious choice. Once I started with the organization, I was like, I really need to step out of my comfort zone. Even if it doesn't mean talking to too many people, it has to start somewhere. Because it'll be ironic. You can't be an introvert and talk about taboo topics. You can't be that one. Because if you're not able to talk about your own feelings, for example, how are you talking about things which are not supposed to be talked about? So I knew that I had to make that transition. And how does it happen? Even if I take it from the public speaker point of view, it takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of conscious effort. And it also takes a lot of revisiting what goes wrong when you're on stages or maybe when you're taking workshops. Whenever we have an event for Break the Ice, what I do really is, and it sounds really strange, just have a mirror in front of you and practice what you're going to say. People would say you can practice out loud sitting in your rooms as well. It's great, but when you're actually looking at yourself, you know what you look like when you're talking to people, and it's almost like you'll be like less nervous. So try that. Just stand in front of the mirror and practice. If even if it's like a speaker session, even if it's like a Break the Ice event, that's what I try to do. Because of course you'll have something that you would want to talk about, right? You'll not have a structured speech, but you'll have things you want to mention. Just practice that in front of the mirror. That helps you to just be a little more confident and a little more prepared when you're going there. So number one, that's really important. That's how I also did it, like just practice enough. And number two, research so much that you know a lot about the topic. So of course that can be implemented by anyone who's just starting out. If you're an introvert who's trying to maybe get into entrepreneurship, really research on what you're talking about. Because if you don't know it on the spot, you will get nervous and you'll go back to, you'll go back with that bad memory with you. Don't do that, because all of us, we overthink so much that we usually have those bad memories engraved in our minds and we focus on the bad more. That's like psychology, that's like how humans work, that's okay. But just have less bad memories then. I think when you're able to be a little more prepared, a little more researched, you'll automatically be more confident. So I think yeah, that's how I did it. And again, second half would be that it's going well, but of course, really need to expand more. I'm a very ambitious person, so just working on how to also collaborate with more impact-driven organizations so that we can really create that impact.
Right. So what I see from what I understand, you are actually working towards a goal which has brought a lot of changes for you, right? In various good ways, right? Do you somewhere feel that taking those risks were a big challenge for you? Because see, when we are young, and let's say when we're working with people who are, let's take, who have more experience than our age sometimes, correct? It becomes a question for us that if we are doing the right thing or if we do have the right knowledge or things like that, right? So lots of challenges and risks come into play, right? Was there a specific mindset that you had in mind, okay, that kept you going कि नहीं पलक ये करते जाना है इसी चीज में आगे बढ़ते जाना है no matter what happens, like no matter what happens, we have to go ahead in this field and ठीक है I am young, I might not know everything, but we'll keep learning, we'll keep going. So is there a particular mindset that you had?
I'll be honest. I'll be very honest. I didn't have a mindset like that. I've kind of learned from other people now, and I tell other people to have a mindset which is called the growth mindset. Just knowing ki it'll happen, but what are the steps I need to take in the short term for me to be, uh, for there to be a greater chance for it to happen. Like whatever your success is, whatever your metric is, you set up shorter goals so that you're able to achieve it at the end. Uh, so it's called the growth mindset. I did not have that. I was just ambitious and I was just trying to figure out, what do I do next so that either I can build a better team, either we can have more offline events, either we can increase our impact, or we can maybe expand to more countries. Those were my smaller metrics, and I was just working on that. And again, I used to have like monthly goals, so I used to just try to achieve those. Really never did I never had a growth mindset, and to be honest, I used to fear that people would. That's one of the challenges I faced, because so many people used to say you are young, and I know all young entrepreneurs would kind of feel that so many people constantly say you don't have the experience, you don't have the knowledge, and you're just out of passion trying to work on this. It may or may not work, and that kind of demotivates you. But you can again use it to your
A lot.
advantage. That can also that can demotivate you, but you can take it to your advantage and kind of motivate yourself through that, because your age can be either a very big challenge or a very big advantage.
Correct.
And it depends on how you work and how you utilize it to use it to your advantage, right? Because initially I used to be like, oh my god, so many of my mentors are saying I'm young, maybe I don't know too much, I don't have the experience. And gradually, those were the same mentors who said, I think you're young, so you have a different perspective. Use that to your advantage, and then your age will be the advantage. And I kind of transitioned to that. So I think that is in itself a mindset. You want to call it growth mindset, you can. You want to call it just how to make the most out of every challenge. That's also a mindset in itself. And like I think you mentioned initially, it's about perseverance. So I think that's a mindset in itself. It's a quality, I agree, but it's also something you can bring within yourself. Ki, hey, maybe I can use my advantage, maybe I can use my age to an advantage. Maybe because we're all young, maybe that's our USP. Use that. All of my team members are people under 23. Like every one of my team members, we have 100 volunteers. Every one of them is in the bracket of 13 to 23. If I wanted to take it as a disadvantage, anybody can say, oh, it's a youth organization, they're still figuring it out, etc., etc. But you can even use it to your USP and say, we are a youth led, youth driven organization, and we're still working with so many other partners. Depends on how you use it. So, yeah, I think honestly, didn't have that mindset, but I try to help people to now have that mindset now that I've learned.
Right, right. Keeping that's in play, keeping all, let's take, our work in play, our missions in play, right? Things we want to achieve with time. I personally have felt, let's take, lots of ups and downs personally as well. Let's take, sometimes there are times when I do not feel the best. I feel like I haven't done enough, or there are times of self doubt. The times of, let's take, when you don't feel that things are going your way or things are going right. See, we are people who mostly speak about helping others to destigmatize that mental health part, but sometimes when it comes to us, we do not have the right ways ourselves to solve it, right? But somewhere I feel with the knowledge that we are gaining from people around us, from researching, from learning, we have found a way to basically manage it, let's say overcome it, right? So have there been times when you have faced such things? Okay, would you want to, let's say, tell a story about it? And if you have, right, what were the ways that you chose to overcome it?
Great question. I think thankfully I've never faced any challenges with my mental health. But yes, I am a very anxious person. So I kind of face those overwhelming thoughts, that fear of judgment and everything on a daily basis. And I have always felt like when I'm teaching other people, I should also make a note of what goes wrong with them so that I don't make those same mistakes, right? Because again, I think number one, all of us make the same mistake, which is working till we burn out. Don't do that. I think for whoever who's listening, please make sure you don't work till you burn out. You can be ambitious, you can work a lot, you can have a messed up sleep schedule. I hope you don't. I do have that. But make sure you don't burn out. You know the level after which you're like, I need to take a break for myself, my mind, and my body. All of it. Because whatever I have learned from mental health through all the events we've organized, through professionals who've been a part, we've had psychologists come on board for us and take webinars for us. And what I've realized is the number one thing they say is you don't take care of yourself and you don't know your own limits. Your own, as in your own mind and your body's limits. Note that if I know I cannot work on a Saturday or a Sunday, that I need a Sunday like as my weekend break and I need it for sure, I will make sure I don't work on a Sunday. If that's the limit you can set for yourself, it's like the best limit because you know you're getting a weekly break at least. To just really rejuvenate and enjoy rather than just keep on working. And because again, you can love the work you do, but everyone knows you need that kind of a personal break as well. You can love the work you do. I love the work I do. And I feel like it kind of doesn't really bother me even if I work till 3 a.m. But then does my body feel the same way is the question you need to ask yourself. So be very conscious of when do I need to stop so that I don't burn out. Number two is please get professional help if you need it. Okay, I really feel like people are so this is so stigmatized even through the media, we really need to stop doing that. I'm not just talking about India, I'm talking about at a global level. What we really need to do is understand that it's okay to get professional help if we need it. If you feel like you're not good in studies, you do get the tutor, right? You do go to your teachers to revisit your doubts, right? It's okay to go to a therapist or like a psychologist if you feel like, hey, I think I'm getting unstable in my mental health and I might need the professional help because I don't know too much about it. Because yeah, so I think that kind of a destigmatization is needed. What I do is I love to journal. I love to take weekly breaks. That's the thing that works really well for me because whenever I feel like I'm overwhelmed with work, I'm like, oh, Sunday is coming and I'll get that break I need. That's kind of my motivator whenever I'm feeling overwhelmed. So number one, if that works for you, do that. I do that. Just have a weekly break. If you feel like you need daily breaks, I know few people who do that as well. Just have like 2 hours for yourself every day. Doesn't really work for me. I've tried that. Uh, I don't. I usually use that slot for something else and then I'm like, okay, I didn't get the break I wanted. So weekly or daily conscious breaks. Number two, journal if you would want that. I absolutely love to journal. It really just helps me calm down and also just be grateful. If you're someone like that, try journaling as well. It's really fun. Just get a really fun diary that you want to look at every day. Again, motivators, positive, reinforcers. Get a pretty diary. You will want to open it every day and just write what you want to. It can be grateful. It can be things that maybe overwhelmed you in that day, things that may not have gone right, things that really did really well and got a smile on your face. So anything. So yeah, journaling and breaks work for me. I'm also a very frantic to-do lister, if that makes sense. Like I really have to have everything in my to-do list to get it done. Because if I don't write it down, I kind of psychologically feel that I will not achieve it. So if that's something you want to do, that also helps you in preventing the burnout because you're not delaying anything. If you have that to-do list, you know you have to achieve it maybe by the end of the week, maybe on a daily basis, whatever. You do you. But yeah, that also works for me.
So one question: people put your digital waste.
I am a digital notes person. Like my notes app on my phone is
Right.
just everything. But then journaling is on paper because when you're journaling, you really need to like write down what you're feeling. That's how you transfer the energy. But notes and to-do lists are on the phone because I carry it everywhere. I'm just like going mad with it.
I love how Apple important part. But yes, talk of actually watching this feeling like to destigmatize to talk or communicate more. Keeping that in, uh, you mentioned that your start journey was because of an uncomfortable home that right? uh, 2 years in any specific scenarios where you think things need to be openly like stigmatized and people need to communicate those particular things so that or for they get to talk more about.
So, I think there are several topics like that. And number one, your voice is breaking a bit. So, I'm trying to catch the question, but I think I did. Um, when I started out, it was more about menstruation. It was limited to one or two taboo topics that I wanted to focus on. But gradually, I realized that there are so many cultural taboos as well that we can kind of include within all the events and everything that we do because those also need to be, just talked about. And there is a need to break the ice around them as well. So, presently, we're currently working in 10 countries, and we've realized that the taboos in India and the taboos in maybe a different continent is absolutely different.
Okay.
And those cultural stigmas are also something that we need to talk about. So, for us, maybe conversations about LGBTQ, at least in the last 1 year, might have been uncomfortable. But for someone else in a different continent, it might be a very open conversation, right? So I think cultural stigmas like that, that's also something we're trying to focus on. But majorly, gender equality, which is SDG 5, Sustainable Development Goal 5, SDG 13, which is climate action. So, everything around the environment, everything around sustainability, everything around young people in climate change. And of course, SDG 4, which is our major one, which is quality education for all, where we are trying to focus on quality education on taboos for everyone.
Right.
So we've kind of tried to make sure that we're including as many SDGs as possible because I'm someone who's very passionate about the Sustainable Development Goals. So we've tried to include as many as possible to make sure we're really working to create an impact. So yeah, I think all taboos under all of them. So LGBTQ plus, climate change, gender equality, mental health, menstruation, everything. So we're covering all of those, but of course with a cultural stigma in mind as well.
Okay, so was there a story questioned the way you were working or questioned things about yourself? Was there a story that totally motivated you in such a way that it made you think that nahi, ab to you karna hi hai, no matter what? Is there a story like was there some story that really
So I think there are several. Honestly, there are so many. Even people who are a part of the team, there are a few people who said that for me to even talk about and be a part of conversations around mental health is a huge deal. So when we had our first, and this is very close to my heart, when we had our first offline mental health webinar, uh, and there were so many people who came, and there were so many people who came with their parents, so like their moms just accompanying them, there's a sister who's accompanying them, so basically family members. And there were so many people who went back and wrote to us highlighting how much of an impact it had when they went back. So conversations after they attended the event, like the post event conversations, were things that were just really inspiring because you're going back and you're talking to your sister saying, hey, you know what, everything that you just heard, maybe I also feel like I'm feeling overwhelmed with education, studies, maybe extracurriculars, and I think I might need that professional help. And your sister's right there saying, I understand because I just learned so much about it. Do your thing. If let's explore a therapist who can help you in the right way. There's one conversation around that, and this is someone who was like, my family is really uncomfortable talking about anything. And they were conservative in that sense, right? Because okay, there are families like that. They're supportive, but they're conservative. So certain topics would not be touched. Otherwise, they're very supportive people. So conversations like that, I think that left an impact on me because we just realized, okay, this is kind of changing a lot of lives. So we have to just continue doing that. And of course, with menstruation, we did an offline drive with students from government schools, so 6th to ninth. And what we did unique in that was that there were young girls, but also young boys who were a part of the drive. Because technically, females will learn about periods whenever they have it, right? The stigma is actually with boys because maybe they don't get the right kind of information to even know that it's normal. You get that really, really late, ninth, 10th. And ultimately, by then, you have that mindset that, hey, this is not a conversation we can have very openly. So we had it with young boys, and we told them. So at the end of the entire event and the entire drive, we distributed pads. So the girls were like, "Hey, we'll use this, of course. Thank you for the all the knowledge." For the boys, we told them, "Go back and give it to the female members in your family," and that was a beautiful, beautiful incident as well as something that I felt like when they go back and they actually give it to their moms or their sisters or anyone and they tell them that I learned so much about this, I think that would have been really inspiring. And so many of them came back saying that it was actually a conversation that their moms were happy about. So, yeah, those are like a few stories of impact, inspiration, motivation, everything.
You know, um, uh, like, even if it makes me feel so energetic saying how young boys would have this holistic knowledge around holistic menstruation and things like that, right? Coming to, let's take our next phase. Uh, if someone had to, let's take the same journey as you were, okay, or as you are actually currently building, okay, let's take from the start, let's take from getting that idea to, let's take knowing what to do next, okay, knowing that these are the goals I have to achieve, these are the people I have to partner with, okay, and then reaching a level where you are currently, let's take, associated with so many organizations that are there, right? Uh, what would you suggest such a person? What are the steps that he or she should take to reach to, let's take, the level you are at currently right now?
So I think again, I don't think there's a short like journey that I can navigate. But one thing you need to do is get started as soon as possible because you can drive that passion as well as that momentum forward really well. So if you have an idea and you feel like you can carry it out, you have the passion, grit, determination, everything for it. Just get started. Stop the overthinking. Um, I've seen so many people reach out to me just say that I want to do something, but I'm still thinking of if I can do it. I think just leave that self doubt and keep it aside. Just think of if you really have, again, the determination and the perseverance to continue with it maybe 3 years down the line. Do you think this is something which is sustainable enough to also sustain your passion as well as sustain in terms of financials? So think about those things more than just the self doubt. So I think number one, get started if you feel like you have it in you. Um, Number two would be this is a lesson also, but also something that people who are just starting out, if you're young entrepreneurs, you should know, have a very, very solid young and not just young, actually, a very solid team for yourself. So these are people who will be working with you, and you really need to have people with the same kind of passion to really take you forward in the initial stages. Again, because you will feel demotivated when you don't see the results, and the results will not come for the first initial 2 3 months. Be rest assured, all of us, we expect, for example, if someone posts on LinkedIn, there'll be messages from them after 10 days that, hey, it's not working out. It will not work out that fast. That's why everybody is not able to become a creator. That's the very reason, because so many people give up initially itself. And it's not algorithm, it's audience, it's the way you write, it's the way you connect with people, it's the effort you put in. Similar case with entrepreneurs. It may not work initially. You just have to keep going. Introduce, if you're someone who's into products or services, make sure you do a market test before even launching it. Uh, I think that's where a lot of people lose out. Just get the initial pre launch feedback from a few people who do not know you. this has to be your raw, real audience. Just experiment with that. I think that really works with just understanding what are people liking, what are people not liking. If we can make those slight changes initially itself, even before I launch, and put that much amount of money and effort into it. So that is very important. Product service, I think, do the pre-launch feedback with people who don't know you. If you do it with people who know you, they'll be very supportive. That's great, but that's not solving your purpose. Do it with people who practically don't know you, just as someone who will be your customer, right? And yeah, I think have a good team, get started early, give it some time to understand if it's doing well or not, or if you need to make some slight changes in your strategy, product, service, community, whatever you're working on, and make sure you do the pre-launch feedback. I think yeah, all of those kind of just help you navigate the initial phase better, and after that, it's more about expansion and staying consistent with it. Again, with consistency, it is important that you have strategies.
So, yeah, you mentioned building people who are, let's say, just starting out. It might be difficult for them to manage a team in per se. Let's take most people have a very, very simple question that I'm not being able to pay myself. How would I manage a team? Right? That's a very simple question that I've actually had to answer to a lot of young people who approached me. If you have, let's take a solution to that, what would you have done?
Um, I think honestly, I don't have like a concrete answer to it. But with a team, it doesn't mean that you need to have a bigger team, if that makes sense. You need to have 4 to 5 people who have the equal amount of passion that you do to get started. And really, honestly, if you have those kind of people, they will not be focusing on the money. If they have the right kind of passion for the same thing, they will not be focusing on the money, because they also know that you're just getting started and they want to support you for the mission rather than the money. So I think that's exactly what I was saying. Find the right people. Even if it's not just 5 to 6 people, even if it's like 3 people, you plus 2 more people. If you find the right kind of people, honestly, they'll be happy to work with a lesser amount of money, because they like the vision and the mission. And they're here for the long run. And they know that if, in the initial phase, we work really well, in the long run, this has to do well. So I think it's fine finding the right people. LinkedIn can work really well if you're doing that, because so many people are like minded. You can find like good people with the same passion on it very easily. If you feel like offline works better, just hire the right kind of people, even if it's lesser. A lot of people focus on the numbers. I mentioned 100 people. Those 100 people have come out of 1,000 applications. That's what I never mentioned, because I feel like it it kind of sounds like you're focusing on the numbers, but you really aren't. Because we are only focusing on people who have the equal amount of passion to work for it. Because for us, most of them they're actually all volunteers. So they're not even getting paid for it. Because we are an NGO, so practically we can't really make money out of it, right? And
Right.
these are people who have attached themselves to the organization and the work simply because they want to be a part of the vision and the mission and the impact. So, like I said, find the right people and they'll be happy to be a part of it without the monetary. Even if they want the monetary aspect, they'll not focus solely on that.
Okay. Uh, we just I somewhere feel there is a, let's take conversation we left behind, which actually resembles a lot with the journey that you have actually taken. Um, you mentioned that you're a very ambitious person. You have, like, let's take, a lot of goals in life, right? Would you want to tell us, let's take one goal that is something that when Palak somewhere achieves in life, in, let's take, in your journey coming ahead, you would feel that yes, I have done it. Palak, you've got it. Something like, is there one?
I have so many like that, but I'll not mention it. People will practically think that I'm crazy. They are that ambitious, and they're really. I haven't set even a like a year goal for it. I don't know if it'll happen in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Don't set goals like that. I just know that. So one of them would be if Break the Ice expands to each and every country in the world. I think that's one way in which I would feel that hey, we have kind of achieved what we wanted to. Because again, not focusing on the numbers, but I feel like when we learned more about different countries, we realized that we're able to reach out to very, very different people, like perspectives. So someone from India and someone from South Africa are completely different culturally, perspective wise, stigmas, environment, everything. So yeah, that's one of my goals. Don't know when it happened, have not set the yearly goal to it, but yeah, hopefully to be in every country possible and to just build that safe space that we're building with Break the Ice.
With that, we have spoken about a lot of things where we've spoken about destigmatizing a lot of taboo topics that let's take bunch of people, let's take across nations don't want to talk about or communicate on. We have spoken about your journey, how an introvert side of you, let's take totally chose that it will shift a gear and try becoming a public speaker, and then as well the journey that you have had with Break the Ice. I would want to ask that. Has there been times where your health took, let's take a seat back, okay, mentally, majorly, right? Because see, somewhere from outside it seems that that it's very creamy, बहुत आसानी से हो जाएगा, things like that. But when you actually do it, it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of, let's take, mental strength to go ahead with, right? So have you had such phases? And if yes, right, was there that one thing? What's that one thing that kept you going?
So, I think happened when I just started Break the Ice, like 3 months down the line, and yeah, I've had moments where like the health as well as the body as well as the mental health, like physical and emotional, just goes down the drain, and you really can't help it because again, maybe the things that you're doing, journaling, taking breaks, to-do lists, also knowing that you should know when you are, going to burn out. I felt that, but what really keeps me going is honestly number one the impact, and number two just looking at the way that we've been able to push Break the Ice forward. So I think that's the only motivation. And even when, and another motivation for me is to really, again, like I said, I'm very ambitious. So I know that if we are able to achieve this and it's only stopping because of my personal issues or mental health or anything, then I need to stop that. Like, get the right kind of help or maybe just, understand what's going wrong and improve that. So yeah, that's the only motivation for me, honestly, and has happened. uh, I've always said social media looks so positive always. People don't know what's going behind the back. Like it might be that I'm posting one of my biggest achievements and I'm sitting in bed just tired. It can always happen. But yeah, you what I always do is just make sure that I know I don't want to burn out. That's the only thing I keep in my mind because that once I've seen people around me burn out, like a lot of my friends, and I've realized that that's not something you would want to do. Like really, it drains every part of you, and then for you to come back to your to your routine, it's really difficult. So stop before it's too late, basically. And I tell myself that always whenever I feel like I really need a break, just take a vacation wherever possible. Whatever you are able to do, just take a small vacation.
What was the last vacation you took?
I went to Dubai last week. I know for
Oh
the award, but then I
yeah,
extended it to just enjoying. So was a good break.
okay, okay. Come to the last segment of our conversation today, and it's the simple rapid fire thing. Okay, I'll just ask you, let's say, few things. You might go ahead with that. So you might want to unmute yourself because I'll be like a little faster on that.
Okay.
Let's go with this. What is that one book that you would?
So, Zero to One, I think that's an excellent book on business, startup, life, everything.
Okay. What is that one movie that is basically a go-to movie for any time?
This would sound very cliche, Ye Jawani Hai Diwani, just because it has Ranbir Kapoor. And that you get to know a different side to me, which is I practically hate Bollywood other than a few actors. So, Ranbir Kapoor.
I actually understand that you love to travel.
Yes, I love to travel, absolutely. So, Ye Jawani Hai Diwani also has that aspect. We'll give it to that.
Okay. What is that one place you would love to, let's say, travel to if you had this?
I actually had Dubai on my wish list, so I really want to go again to just really just explore more. But if one more place, I think it would be Switzerland, just because of how aesthetic it is.
Okay, okay. Um, what is that one podcast or one?
Um, podcasts, there are many, and there are so many underrated ones as well. But if you just want to get started, I think Raj Shamani's podcast is excellent. Uh, really like educates you as to basically when you open YouTube and you're like, this is the title of the podcast, or if you open Spotify and you read the podcast title, you know that's the only thing that's going to be talked about. So if you want to like be crisp, clear, informative, Raj Shamani's definitely.
Okay. And this is the last. So I have this one. It's like line that I get everyone to talk. It's basically a fill in the blank. So if you were to motivate someone else, okay, and tell them that have a lux to do this, okay, what would that be? So fill in the blank. Like, have a lux X Y Z.
So have a lux to make your dreams come true.
Okay. Okay. No worries. That's super awesome because somewhere I feel everyone needs to have a dream. Do it. With that, Palak, we're almost at the end of our conversation. Okay, I really to be honest, very inspiring conversation, getting chills when people at your age are doing like so amazing. Okay, with such to like, talk about topics which are usually not uh, communicated properly in day-to-day lives in society, right? With that, do you have any single, let's take learning or anything you would want to say to just conclude the whole conversation?
I think I think I mentioned this earlier also, just get out of your comfort zones. For everybody who's listening, for whatever you want to achieve, just try to get out of your comfort zone. 1% daily also works, 1% a month also works. Set your goal for yourself. But get out of your comfort zones. You'll be able to achieve so much more and go to places that you maybe never imagined to do. So, yeah, that's my advice.
Okay, amazing. It was lovely having you here, Palak. I definitely love to do one in person as well. Okay, possibly if you come down to Kolkata or we meet somewhere in Delhi.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.